to what Jesus is saying here. If you ever have taken on any type of home project, you have to have enough resources to get it all done at once, or you will only be doing a little bit at a time. And that's okay. For many people, this is the only way to remodel a house. I have a couple of friends back in Weimar who are slowly remodeling their house. They refuse to borrow money and go into debt. It is a do-it-yourself project. So they wait until they save enough money for each project. Each time they get an estimate of what it will cost them, they then try to keep the job close to the estimate. It might take them a while, but at least they are counting the cost and doing it the right way. Building our faith is very much like that. We can't build it all at once, or at least not correctly. So we do it slowly, counting the cost along the way. In Luke 14, Jesus tells a crowd that following him can be costly. To build their faith in a good way, they need to be aware of what it might cost them. For instance, it might cost them their families. If anyone comes to me without hating his father and mother and wife and children, brother and sister, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. This was more of a problem then than it is now, because in the first century, following Jesus was new and different. It was like building a new house rather than just remodeling a house. As the Christian movement grew in the first century, people were moving out of their homes, often breaking from their families over this new religion. This doesn't happen much like that today. Most people today do not change their religion altogether, although they might remodel it just a bit. For example, a person might be raised as Roman Catholic and later become an independent Catholic, or even a Protestant, or they might join the women's priest movement as I did. This is more like remodeling a house that has good bones, as we say. Still, remodeling our faith will always require some self-sacrifice. Notice that Jesus includes our lives in his list of things that we may need to hate. He's referring to things we might need to sacrifice, which he illustrates by saying we need to carry our own cross. He then talks about the cost of building our faith by using the example of constructing a tower. Unless one is building a fort, a tower seems like a luxury to me. It is not a necessity. Likewise, when we are calculating the cost of building our faith, we need to be aware of things that seem extravagant. Are we trying to do too much? Have we calculated the cost of what our commitment might be? Jesus' third illustration involves sending troops into battle. Do we have enough troops to win? This is a good illustration because faith often feels like a battle, and we need to make sure we can win before we go into battle. At first, we're likely just fighting against our own inner demons, so to speak. But after a time, as we build up our faith, we might find ourselves battling against outside forces of evil and injustices. Faith eventually requires us to stand up and fight the good fight. Before that happens, we should make sure we have the strength to do so. We need to count the cost. Finally, Jesus uses the illustration of renouncing possessions. This is literally counting the cost. History provides us with a few examples of people who have remodeled their faith in such a radical way. The book of Acts tells us this was a real practice among the first Christians. Later in history, Jesus' teaching and St. Francis of Assisi inspired people to practice voluntary poverty. Using this illustration of remodeling a house, we would then call these folks minimalists. Not everyone can follow Christ at this level, but the minimalists do serve as a great role model for remodeling our faith. Other than giving their lives for the faith, they show us what counting the cost might truly become. Is it time for us to remodel our faith, to make some necessary improvements? Will we need to sacrifice this to make it happen? And have we calculated the cost? There are likely to be some hidden costs. So let's make sure we include a line item for miscellaneous in our faith remodeling estimate.